Hello there, I'm Scotty, you're not, and welcome to the first official installment of the I Roll It, I Review It weekend. So, yes, I rolled Tubi, and then Sci-Fi, and number one, eventually after all the other ones I'd seen already. So, people at the hotel next door. It was quiet till I started recording. So Sphere it is. So it has to be a movie I've never seen before. No trailers, no nothing. Haven't seen. The only thing I knew about it was that it was a Michael Crichton film because the guys at Mr. Sunday Movies, they reviewed it. I didn't watch the review. I hadn't watched the review. I almost did, but I didn't. I watched the review for Timeline. Richard Donner's Timeline. So it seems that in the 90s, in the wake of Jurassic Park, they decided to adapt other Michael Crichton novels with big time directors like Frank Marshall, who directed Congo and had big stars like Tim Curry, Ernie Hudson, and so on and so forth. And then there was The 13th Warrior, directed by John McTiernan and starring Antonio Banderas. Timeline, which was directed by Richard Donner and starred Paul Walker, Billy Connolly, Jerry Butler, Francis O'Connor. Yeah, they're lesser than the big ones, but then there's this one. Because I think it was like, oh, we want to do another Michael Crichton movie, but we want less big stars because that's ruining it. So, this one bombed, Sphere bombed, and it had some big talent: Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, Samuel L. Jackson, Liev Schreiber, Queen Latifah, a cameo from Huey Lewis. Yeah. Directed by Barry Levinson, who did Wag the Dog, Rain Man, and Tootsie, which all starred Dustin Hoffman. Do you see the? Yeah. And it bombed. This, to me, it feels like a combination of Alien, Event Horizon, and The Abyss. It's a group of people exploring a spaceship, Alien, bottom of the ocean, Abyss, and something there messes with their mind, Event Horizon. Yeah, that's what it is. And yeah. This movie was okay. I found there's a lot of lull in this movie, a lot of talking. Apparently, there was a lot of improving. I could tell. Like, I don't know. Just no. Yeah. I also find like the movie was anticlimactic. Like they build up this whole thing, like, oh, if you went in the sphere, there's something wrong with you, something inside of you, and they build up the Samuel Jackson is gonna be the villain, kind of like what happened with Sam Neill in Event Horizon. But they're like, no, it's all in our heads. The sphere's messing with us. No one's bad. It's just taking our nightmares, producing them, because like Samuel Jackson's reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and we get a giant squid, and someone is afraid of jellyfish, so they show up, and there's these weird eels that show up and attack. Effects aren't bad. I think there's some practical work, but you know. And some people are yelling that, oh, I can't be infected, I never went in. Apparently, they all went into Sphere at some point in time and didn't know about it. Apparently. But, like, that doesn't explain. There's a scene towards the end of the movie, Dustin Hoffman says, I'm going to go out in the water and I'm going to see what's going on. And Sharon Stone's like, okay, I got your back. I got your back, baby. You and me, baby. You and me, baby. And then he goes out there. And all of a sudden he's having trouble with his breathing apparatus. It's not working. He's trying to contact Sharon Stone and she's not talking. And Samuel Jackson shows up and he's like, she's not here. She went And then, like, where'd you go? She's like, I went up to the spaceship for food. There's no food in the cupboard. He's like, I was just in there. The whole thing's full of food. No, there's no food. And then they confront her, and there's food. And he's yeah. And then there's a million copies of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in the cupboards at some point. I just think he's messing with it. But the way that Samuel Jackson is acting in these scenes, you're meant to believe he's manipulating things when it's not. Also, they're talking to an alien being of some sort, the Sphere, I guess, calling him Jerry. But they say, no, it's Harry. It's Samuel L. Jackson. That's who it is. He's doing it, and the Sphere's affected him. But then they realize, no, we've all been through the Sphere, and it's a mental thing in our heads. Because he's a psychiatrist. You gotta come back to that. He's a psychiatrist. Psychologist. Whatever. Same thing, I think. He's a psychologist. He's like, no, it's all in our heads, and we all been through there at some point, and it's messing with us. And, yeah. And it becomes real. What's the name of it? Grave Encounters. Because at one point at the end, they try to get to the little submarine, and they go through there, but then they end up we're in an alien spaceship. How did we get here? I don't know. I don't know. So they go through what's supposed to be an elevator, and it leads to another part of a hallway. This was an elevator before. What happened? Are we sure we can get out of here? There's a whole thing where, like, Samuel Jackson Point says, we're not supposed to live, because apparently the people from the ship were from the future and crashed in the past, but not to play shitty games and suck ass. Had to do the joke, sorry. And so, like, we foresaw the future, we're all going to die, Samuel Jackson says, but no one's going to survive. Liev Schreiber, Harold, and Queen Latifah all die, but those three stay behind, and it becomes sort of a psychological thriller movie of sorts. Who is the bad one? None of them! It's all in their heads. Yes. And they eventually get to that little submarine and get out of there. And they say before, you go down, you come back up, you gotta be in a decompression chamber, because you don't want to get what are they called, the bends, right? That's what it's called. Which I thought was something that was made up for 47 meters down to explain why she goes nuts. But apparently, that's a real thing. If you swim all the way up too fast, it could do that to you. So, yeah. And so the movie, I think maybe it's the ending that threw audiences off, because it's just like, think of the endings to the other movies. Alien, the ones that it's trying to rip off. Alien, Ripley disposes of the alien, and she and the cat go night in the escape pod. Event Horizon, I don't fucking know. People died. Apparently, the woman is alive and she's gone crazy. And the Abyss. The Abyss, they get out of there. They escape. So, yeah. But, if I can remember correctly. I got an itch. Hold on. Like, here, they're in a decompression chamber. They're going to talk to us. They're going to know what happened. We can't tell them what happened. They can't know what happened, because that's going to make things worse. Well, what do? We can't lie to them. We have all these abilities. What if something happens? What if we unknowingly do something to someone else and make their fears go out? You know what? They're like, what if we use that power to manipulate our own minds and make us forget it? Make us forget. So they erase their own memories so they don't know what happened anymore. But I'm sitting here going, but they still have their powers, and they don't know that they have them. So who's to say that they can't accidentally use those powers to manipulate someone's dreams and nightmares? I don't think erasing their memories erases those powers, though. It's confusing. I will say the underwater sequences had me claustrophobic. You know me. I'm not a big fan of underwater movies. Thunderball is one of my least favorite James Bond movies because of all the underwater sequences that just feel like it slows it down. they do a good job with the tension in the other water sequences in this one. But there's a lot of talking, and it's a lot of boring, and this movie's over 2 hours long. And I'm just going, you can take a half hour of the dialogue, especially the stuff that they're ad-libbing. You know? I'm just saying. You know? Also, Liam Trevor with glasses. That was an interesting look for him. I guess. And I guess I just expected more. You know, when they were like, oh, he's been through there, like, can't trust him, like, you know. I don't know, okay. So something happens when they go through the sphere, into the sphere. Okay. So Samuel Jackson is acting like a bad guy, but no, he's not. He's not. And then at one point they think it's Beth, Sharon Stone. And at one point she traps Dustin Hoffman in a place and says, "No, you got to inject yourself with the needle because you're the one that went through. You're the one that's going nuts. You're the one that's doing this stuff. You're afraid of the stuff." And it's like, but the giant squiddy's not afraid. That was Samuel L. Jackson, who's afraid of, you know. And he's starting to think back to stuff, messing with it. You made that stuff happen, and he has to sneak out with a little breathing apparatus thing, and get it. Yeah. I just want to point out that the breathing sound they would make every once in a while when they're out there, little annoying, just a little annoying. Just a little annoying. But yeah, it feels like they threw everything at the wall for the climax. Like, oh, one of them is messed up because they went in the sphere, and realized, no, they all went in the sphere. They just didn't know it. And then we kind of threw more things at the wall, like, oh, they can't get out, but then they do get out, and it's like, well, if it was manipulating them, I was expecting for them to open, for the door to unlock, and them to go out and be back in the ship. We're like, nope, guess what? You never left. And then just like, no! And then it explodes. Because there was an explosive set up. And they was all in their heads. They were still on the ship, and then it explodes. Then no. No, they just erased their own memories. Yeah, so. Oh no, I'll give it a middle of the road. It was fine. The acting was good. Because you got top-notch actors in this. You know, Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, Liev Schreiber, Samuel Jackson. Top-notch actors. The acting was good. I don't know. The plot lost me a little bit. Yeah. Well, let's roll for the next one. I'm gonna go home. Get okay to the home page. Roll. No, not one again. Different one. Not gonna do the same streaming service twice in a row. 6. Roku channel. Okay. Now we roll the genre. 3. Horror. Oh boy. Okay, so that's loud. I'm just gonna do. Okay, so Roku channel. Movies. Okay. Wait. That's deals. How do I... Movies. No, not premium. Movies. Okay. Featured. Comedy. Science fiction. Romance. Where is the horror? Suspense. Thriller. Documentaries. Blue Collar Commentary is not a documentary. Did I miss it? Oh, horror is... Okay. So let's roll the number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mother. So I'm watching Mousetrap, the Mickey Mouse horror movie. Lovely. So I guess that's what I'm watching. So, what are your thoughts on Sphere? Let me know in the comments. So much you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.